We do have some breaking news to get to. I think Steve Kovac has that for us. Steve?
Sarah, yeah, Microsoft has actually won the case against the FTC. This was for the FTC was seeking that preliminary injunction, blocking the deal. The judge has denied that preliminary injunction, meaning Microsoft, at least, will likely try to go forward here in the U.S. to buy Activision for $69 billion. We have lines out to the FTC and Microsoft to talk about what that means. But one other aspect here is this is not over, Sarah, because the CMA, the regulatory authority in the United Kingdom, is still going over this case. They're not expected to have a hearing on this until the end of the month, which is past the July 18th deadline. So still a lot of questions, Sarah, about how Microsoft can button this deal up.
Hey everyone, we're back with another episode of Inconsistent Podcast. It's your boy Shy saying Rayne, and we're gonna switch it up today. We're gonna talk about something that is video game related, but it's not actually about any particular video game. You know, it's about all of the games. Yeah, I don't even think I'm like being like hyperbolic. Like, it's really about all of the games coming out, you know, now between now and like the future. So we're really going to be talking about Microsoft buying the Activision Blizzard company, as well as the FTC's attempt, if you want to call it that, to stop it from going forward, and a little bit about like Microsoft's whole corporate plan and like their idea of how they can improve their relationship with their own consumers, with their own fans, because from what they've been saying during these last few hearings, they felt like they've been, you know, struggling to really provide the player experience that their consumers really deserve. And so their decision was to, well, they couldn't really you know, promote any games that they were known for, like, you know, like I guess Halo, and also they don't want to really be just known for like Halo and Gears of War anymore. They want to be known for games way beyond that, you know. And so their decision was to start, you know, really looking into how they can acquire more games underneath their belt, and then also provide these games to as many people as possible, to bring in as many people to their consoles, so that they can have as many satisfied customers as possible. I would say it's kind of like recognizing that you don't have any good chefs in your kitchen, and the one or two good chefs you do have tend to, well, they left and they opened up their own restaurant, and they're partnering with your rivals, and everybody wants to work with your rival, and you're basically Bob's Burgers right now. So I do feel for like Microsoft, and I really feel for the Microsoft fans. I wish my boy AG was here today, but me and him have been going back and forth about this whole acquisition thing the entire time. I might even show like the screens of where we're just sending each other links and we're just going back and forth. We're both Tauruses, we're both stubborn, but he's fully a Microsoft console user. I'm fully like a Sony console user. So we have like very similar beliefs and positions, but we're on two opposing teams, so you could say. So when we talked about like the Star Wars game and stuff like that, afterwards we did talk about the Microsoft stuff, and around that time it was just getting started, and I'm definitely gonna have him back on here to get his point of view later on, because we really had some things to say both about Sony and about Microsoft. And the first thing I kind of want to take it back to when the whole thing kind of started. So even before the FTC trial, Microsoft had purchased Bethesda gaming studio. If you don't know Bethesda by name, you're probably not going to be watching this kind of video, but maybe you were just interested. Bethesda is the developer for the very popular game Skyrim, which is the 5th game in a franchise called The Elder Scrolls. So it's the full title is Elder Scrolls Skyrim, but everybody knows Skyrim has been re-released like 4 or 5 times. Very popular game, very popular Western RPG styled game. The whole series is really popular. I actually think like Skyrim may have been like the first one to really break through the mainstream, but Morrowind, Oblivion, all of those games are really popular. And then for me, I got into Bethesda from actually playing Fallout 3. So my first Bethesda game was Fallout 3. And those games are really popular too. Fallout 1 and 2 were made by maybe I think a different studio before they joined with Bethesda. Or there's when it comes to Fallout, there's a little bit more stuff going on behind the scenes. And we get games like New Vegas, which was made by like a different development team than the primary developers that worked on like Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 and like Fallout 76, I think. So the main Fallout games, the main Elder Scrolls games, they're made by Bethesda, a very popular studio. And Microsoft bought the studio. The reason why that was somewhat very controversial is because Bethesda was known for being something of a multi-platform game company, so their games would come out on multiple competing platforms. Might come out on PC, comes out on PlayStation, comes out on Xbox. I think Nintendo's on Skyrim. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. I mean, Nintendo's on Skyrim. Skyrim is on Nintendo. Wow. So that was kind of like surprising to a lot of us that Microsoft bought them. But we were still kind of like, okay, we'll see how this goes. But then, you know, they said like, yeah, no, we're gonna still keep most of the games multi-platform, and anything that isn't multi-platform, we'll see how it goes, you know. But the thing is that Bethesda had been working on the game for a long time. They hadn't really released any new IPs. They haven't really released any new flagship games, is what, you know, I would probably just say they are flagship games. Like the next big thing that they're excited to talk about. They did release Fallout 76 recently, which got like pretty bad reviews. I'm actually I'm a fan of the game. I don't think it's necessarily amazing. I can understand why a lot of people didn't really like it, but I thought it was just an experimental concept when they pitched it. I thought when, you know, they announced it, I thought they were saying like, hey, this is a game where we're gonna be trying a lot of different things out, and it's gonna grow and change based off of how the player feedback sounds. And I think that's one of those games that really did. Like, it went from no NPCs, which I didn't mind, to a world full of NPCs, which I still don't mind. It just made the world better. Like, it's one of those games that I get bored playing it because of my own personal reasons, but it's not a game that I felt was so horrible it deserves to be lumped in with like the other trash games of this generation. But Bethesda was still relatively multi-platform with all their games. So when Microsoft announced that the game Starfield that Bethesda had been working on basically since Skyrim, as far as we really know, they announced that that would be exclusive to the Xbox, which up until that point hadn't been hinted at. It hadn't been mentioned or anything like that. A lot of people will say, well, you know, it was never said it'd be multi-platform. It was never said it'd be exclusive until after it was purchased either. So that immediately sent red flags to people who aren't on Microsoft, like fan team. Because, you know, we thought, okay, you're buying these studios and you're probably going to be keeping a lot of games to yourself, but if the games that are supposed to be multi-platform stay multi-platform, then everybody wins in the long run. But it was when they said, oh, we're keeping Starfield for ourselves, that people started to say, hold on, what are you going to keep Elder Scrolls for yourself? Are you going to keep Fallout for yourself? Because these are popular games that were on everybody's system for the most part that can handle that kind of game. And we don't want Fallout or Elder Scrolls to end up like Halo and Gears of War. You know, we actually enjoy these games. We like that they come out and they're for everybody or for as many people as possible, and these are really popular games. So that was just a bad look. So Microsoft bought Zenimax, which is the parent company of Bethesda. They bought Zenimax for $7.5 billion. And this gave them Doom, it gave them Elder Scrolls, it gave them Fallout, it gave them quite a few other games. Games like Dishonored, Evil Within. I'm saying games, these are like IPs. So a lot of things that were under Zenimax, under Bethesda, that weren't necessarily even heavily associated as like Bethesda games are now Microsoft games. And Microsoft fans were happy. Xbox players are happy. They thought, hey, we're guaranteed a good game. We're finally guaranteed a good game. You sound desperate, but I'm happy for you. It's like, hey man, at least you get something to do. I mean, I can't be upset. I still have a lot of games I have to play and a lot of games I need to finish. I was really looking forward to Starfield. I'm probably still gonna play it on like a PC. But losing one exclusive was not a big deal. But Microsoft saw how happy their fans were. They saw how easy of an acquisition that was. They saw how little trouble they really had, and they immediately went and said, we can step it up. We can completely dominate the gaming world if we do this right. And so they started planning their next acquisition, and their next acquisition was for Activision Blizzard. And when they tried to do that, the whole world got involved. Like, they was probably like, hold on, this ain't your business. Like, this is none of y'all business. Why is the FTC getting involved, and why is, all these different countries saying no? Like, UK said no. America was like, I don't know about that one, chief. Like, you gonna have to talk about that. And so that's where we kind of get into the whole FTC versus Microsoft. So the FTC is the Federal Trade Commission. They basically are responsible for protecting American consumers. That's really what they do. That's what they're here for. So when it comes to new evolutions in the world, in the marketplace, in the world of trading, in the world of conversions from, this idea to this profit and all of that, they consider themselves the gatekeepers of all of that. They usually get involved just when either something is really sketch or maybe when something is just really new, and what Microsoft was attempting to do for the FTC, it must have sent some kind of like red flags to them, like, hold on, y'all are trying to do something. And so Microsoft was tasked with explaining to a jury, a judge, a court system, why and what their plans were, why they were planning to purchase ABK, Activision Blizzard, and why they felt they needed to do that, what they intended to do with Activision Blizzard and all of their accompanying games, and how they felt this would positively or neutrally impact the entire world of gaming. And this was like the greatest sports game ever. I mean, not even a sports game. This could have been like a rap battle of history. Like, I kind of want to see this. Like, epic rap battles of history, go ahead and do your thing, because I kind of need to see Microsoft versus the FTC/Sony. And it was pretty crazy. Like, I mean, just on Twitter, it was crazy. People was hyping up. People was pulling out receipts. People was leaking documents. I mean, things was getting blacked out and then brought back. Like, yo, some of these people is either really bad at their job, or some of y'all is too good at y'all's job. Like, I don't know what was really going on here, but documents was getting leaked, data transfers, not data transfers, but like how much people was paying to get these companies on board. Shoot, we was seeing like diss tracks, basically. Like, people were sending emails within companies just trash talking different studios, and just like, oh, we gonna take them down, we gonna shut them out of the whole industry and stuff like that. Oh, we're not worried, you know, say what you want, do what they want, whatever, we don't care. Like, this was like the most freaking millennial generation Z, whatever the hell people are saying right now. Like, this was the most this era I've ever seen. Like, when it comes to something like this, it was crazy. It didn't even seem, I mean, like, I didn't really watch the events, like the live streams and stuff like that. I just kind of read the reports and kind of like the summaries and stuff. But it seems like the whole world of gaming, like the whole gaming world, you know, was on one side or the other. There's people in the middle, there's people who's like, I'm neutral, but, and yet, like, there's people who didn't even understand what was really happening. So I didn't want to be subjective, because I am biased towards Sony, so I didn't want to be subjective. But Microsoft was they had a lot to prove, right? So Microsoft and Pete Hines, they had to get in front of the judge and explain, or, you know, make promises that ABK isn't going to be restricted to just one platform, and they're not going to make Call of Duty like console exclusive and stuff like that. And Bethesda's out here doing damage control, talking about how we didn't know that was an option. Why wasn't that option presented? I'm still not trying to put conjecture or my own personal opinions on anything, but just on the face value alone, that was kind of like, you know, it's crazy what's leaking. Like, just the emails that's leaking out of this whole thing. It's like cancel culture is really kind of crazy, not because, you know, these people are getting canceled, not because the companies are getting canceled, but just the way things went from being sort of like sealed in courthouses when this kind of thing happened, and, you know, media blogs and stuff like that kind of brought it out, to seeing how like all of this stuff just hits the internet same day, hits Twitter same day. Like, people is live streaming in court. Like, the judge is begging people, hey, if you're not part of the Zoom team, or if you're not on the Zoom list, like, please respect that we're still an official setting. Like, this is an official thing, this is a real thing, there's a real place. So it's crazy, because like it really just feels so modern for this kind of important shift to take place the way it did. But Microsoft and Pete Hines, which is one of the leaders of Microsoft, one of the spokespersons, I'm a game designer and I should be using much better terminology, but I'm not a terminology person, man. I don't have to be. But him, Todd Howard, a couple other people, like, they were constantly put on the spot, and they basically had to say that we're not trying to steal games from anybody. We're not trying to take games away from people. We're planning to buy these companies, so that we can put all of their games on the cloud, so that all of these games can be available everywhere, because cloud gaming is the future, and everybody's gonna want to be playing these games from their phones and from their laptops and computers, and they want to have these games on GamePass, and everybody's gonna be happy. We promise. This is a win-win for everybody. Sony gets better competition, and players get more games, and developers get more sales or more plays, and everybody's just gonna win from this. And it wouldn't be a bad thing if Microsoft was one of those studios that was definitely about maintaining their word, but people were really looking at them like, we don't believe you, bro. We don't believe that you're doing this for the sake of the gaming landscape. You want to change the gaming landscape. We believe that, we believe that you want to change the gaming landscape, but do you want to do it to improve life for everyone in this gaming world, or do you want to change it so that you're not in last place behind every other gaming company out there? Because I don't think cloud gaming is specifically the best future for gaming. It might be the future of gaming. I'm Cloud Shy. You visit my website, cloudshy.com. I'm all about the cloud. Rap name Rayne, Saint Lorraine. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about the cloud. But I don't think having to rely on the internet, having to rely on Wi-Fi to play a game, I don't think that's the future. I don't even think that's the wave. I don't think that's the move. I think playing a good game when your internet's out, I think that's dope. You know what I'm saying? Call me old-fashioned, old school, whatever. I think streaming is a good bonus. I think being able to stream any game I want is a dope bonus. I don't think it needs to make its way into the standard of, you need to make games that are streamable. You need to make games for the streaming audience. I don't think anybody on the developer side wants to do that either, because I don't think Game Pass is just a net positive. I think it's a net positive in certain ways, and if used correctly, I think it's a net positive, but I don't think they even recognize what they're possibly doing, or maybe they do recognize and they don't care, because they know that if they put themselves in the right position, if everything else falls, like if the whole streaming and game streaming and all of this stuff, if it all just goes left, it doesn't matter, because they'll have such a huge library of games that everybody will still play their games. I've talked to a lot of people who are fans of Game Pass. I'm a fan of the PlayStation Plus options, so it's relatively the same thing. So, a lot of them are looking forward to being able to play games like Starfield or whatever on day one on Game Pass. And I'm happy for them. I am somewhat skeptical of, how that affects the developer side of it, because if the developers start making money like musicians make money off of streaming, which is to say that instead of selling a CD for $20 and then they get 50%, let's say, whatever, of that 20 for every CD sale, and now they're getting cents, barely cents, they're getting bottle caps for every time their song is streamed. And even if their album is bought, well, I think they actually get a better percentage if the album is bought, so they get album sales still. But as far as just streams and comparing it to game streaming and Game Pass and stuff like that, where a game comes out day one and it's available for no extra price, you just play it on Game Pass. So someone drops a song on Apple Music, and if you have Apple Music, you just play the song. You don't have to pay for it, you don't have to buy it. So that artist only profits off of a stacked amount of plays. You know, you gotta play that song a lot, because they're getting bottle caps for every play. And when you look at that and you kind of compare it to what's going to happen with the gaming culture, where games will start getting these large investments up front, and then they'll be getting most of their money back after, you know, investing in the development process of the game. They'll get most of their profits back from playtime or something like that, you know, whereas they're getting paid based off of hours individually played and stuff like that. So it's really hard to kind of say how that's gonna like work, you know, because like, for example, I'm someone who will buy a $70 game and then not play it for a while. There's people who will buy a $70 game and they'll play it all, and then, like, you know, they put the game down, that's it. So games will have to change their design philosophy in order to maintain profit off of something like, well, we get paid not for games we sell, but for length of time it's played. That's a whole different philosophy when you're designing a game, because now you want to make games more like, say, Elden Ring, that encourages, you know, slow progression. Even though Elden Ring does it great, but as an example, like, it's going to encourage a new design philosophy, or it might encourage, I'm not psychic, I'm just saying it might encourage a new design philosophy. And I don't want games in the future to be counting on something like microtransactions and I can't think of the word right now, but like artificial difficulty, you know, like I don't want games to force me to play the game, like longer cutscenes, longer moments of non-interactiveness. I don't want none of that in games. More microtransactions, more forced online plays, more forced online modes. Like I'd rather the design philosophy continue to be like, this is the idea for the game, this is the tools and what we have for it, and this is the best we can do for the idea that we have. And then you put that idea out, and based on how many people buy into that idea, you now are able to either better evolve that idea or whatever. I don't want the idea to be like, well, we have this idea, but it don't matter if this type of game is just not sustainable to make. You know what I mean? Because we're going to get more games where it's like Diablo, where the microtransactions start to get built into the foundations of the game to just continue making profit one way or another. I'm not for it. I don't want more Destinies. I one or two here and there, that's fine, but I don't want too many of those. And someone told me, hey, you know, Sony's doing the same thing too. They're going to be doing the same thing too. And I'm like, they probably will. And I might not buy into those games too. I'm gonna leave some bad reviews. Any game that has invasive microtransactions, whether it's Xbox, Sony, Nintendo, freaking iPhone, I don't care. Any game that has invasive microtransactions, predatory features, predatory concepts that I can see are predatory, because I mean, and this is where it's important for me, because I'm a designer, so I learn from these games. Like, I buy these games and it's really just me studying 24/7, like, okay, this is good locomotion, I need to learn more about how to do this in my games. Or this is, wow, the texturing is amazing, I need to learn how. So even something like learning how to put microtransactions into my games is important, because I want people to want to support my game. You know, I want people to play my game and say, wow, this is so good, I want more of it. Hey, is there more of this game for us? You know, as opposed to me saying, dang, I made this game, nobody's gonna play it unless I trick them into paying to play it. So the whole war between FTC and Microsoft recently ended. It ended like a week or two ago. The judge said, you know, I'll come back and let you guys know my decision, but I appreciate everything you said. And a lot of people were saying the FTC failed. A lot of people were saying, oh, they're not gonna get it because the FTC had no real points. One of the big things about Activision is that they have Call of Duty. As someone who actually enjoys Call of Duty for none of the right reasons, none of the popular reasons, I didn't expect Call of Duty to be like the game that everything relied on. Like all of this, like the future of game design, the future of these marketplace practices, the future of streaming versus fully released games coming out and stuff like that, incomplete games, games as a service, live service games, all of this stuff. Low-key riding on these decisions right now. And I did not realize Call of Duty was going to be like Spider-Man, Peter Parker in the Civil War thing. I didn't see that coming. And it's just interesting because I wouldn't have cared at all if Call of Duty was Microsoft exclusive. That's just me. Like, whenever I think of Xbox, I think of shooters. I think of Call of Duty. I think of Halo. I think of Gears of War. I think of nothing else. But I think Xbox definitely cultivated the whole online shooter world. They added like that whole Xbox Live when nobody was really thinking about online multiplayer being so crucial to the gaming world. They was like, these people pay to play online and they're having fun and they're calling each other racist names and stuff, but they're having a great time. And look, they're shooting each other, so all our games are gonna have this. Like, it's crazy that we lost Starfield before this happened, and I think Starfield would have been like the game to have this conversation around, in terms of what's your intentions, what's your angle, be honest, because I would have loved to see how they tried to justify keeping a multi-platform game company's biggest new launch for themselves. And I don't think the FTC ever used the deceptiveness of the Bethesda purchase as like proof. They only focused on what Microsoft's plans were for Call of Duty, and they looked at the purchase of Zenimax, Bethesda, as sort of like, well, you can afford to do it here, you can afford to do this here, but the judge is looking at it from the point of the consumers, and that's what I'm looking at it from too. And I don't know if the judge, has any kind of bias or whatever. I think I've seen somewhere where it's like someone related to the judge might actually work for Microsoft, but then people related to Sony were present, so it's like everybody's biased one way or another. But it seems like, as far as Cali, which is where I think like the court was holding this conversation, this court battle, it seems like the judge has sided with Microsoft, and can't be mad. It's gonna be very interesting, seeing what Microsoft does next, because I think that's the thing that Microsoft fans like have to really be afraid of. Is Starfield was already in development for years before Microsoft bought them, because this deal just went through like 2 years ago, and I think Microsoft said that Starfield being finished so soon is because Microsoft bought Bethesda and had them just focus on one version of the game as opposed to trying to develop for multi-platforms. And I will tell you myself, developing for multi-platforms is kind of a difficult task. Ash Warrior, out on iOS, Android, coming soon. When? I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. It's a whole different ball game. Every Android device different, you know what I'm saying? So I understand the challenge of multi-platform and stuff like that, and timed exclusives and all that. I don't think Microsoft buying ABK is the L or the W everyone thinks it is, or everyone's kind of pushing it to be. I think Microsoft buying ABK is just a step in a larger plan to shift the gaming culture to be closer to that of the cinema culture. And Microsoft is trying to position themselves in a way that's similar to like Netflix or Disney, where they just have all of these games just being pumped into their library that anyone can just like scroll through and hop into. And I just don't think that's a good idea. Netflix is imploding, Disney is imploding, like HBO Max is imploding. All of these streaming services are actually like, they might look like they're doing good, they might look like they're making bank because, you know, they managed to pull in all these people who want to watch their stuff, but then everybody's saying your stuff is trash. All the Disney shows, Star Wars shows, Marvel shows, most of them get dragged online. And you've seen the quality of Marvel movies now. See where overworked and underpaid and having to maintain your own consistent library of stuff gets really demanding for the people who have to develop what goes into the library. And even if I'm not trying to be biased, Sony's just always been smarter about doing stuff like that. You know, they take a popular third-party developer and they say, hey, we want a game from you for ourselves. You can go back to doing whatever you want. We just want one. We just want a game. You know, give us a Bloodborne or something like that. You know, we ain't gonna take Dark Souls or Demon Souls or Elden Ring. We're not gonna take all of them. We just give us a Bloodborne. We just want a Bloodborne, just so we can say we got Bloodborne from you. And I think that's always been okay. You know what I'm saying? I've always felt like, yeah, Halo being such a great game. When Skyrim first launched, it was trash on PS3. So I remember my friend Ryan sold his PS3 copy, and we just got that game on Xbox, and we just played it on Xbox all the time because it was just better then. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing wrong with having console exclusives or having your own studios or anything like that, but I'm really looking more like 10 steps beyond, and that could just be me being paranoid. I could just be paranoid. But I don't trust these corporations to have our best interest at heart. I don't think Microsoft bought all of these gaming studios up with the intent of saying, yeah, our consumers are gonna have more great games to play. I think they really did it to say like, okay, now that we have all of these games in our library, we can make the next push. And the next push is going to be something that fills their pockets, obviously. But something that fills their pockets doesn't have to be like consistently great games. You know, it just has to be stuff that people consistently feel like they have to pay for. And when you have less options to choose from, people are usually willing to pay more for what they think is important, you know? So, is Microsoft trying to make a monopoly? I don't know. I think they're trying to get ahead of a curve that they're creating, or a wave that they're trying to start. But everybody's been trying to get in on the streaming stuff. I just don't think it's ever been working out, but we'll see how it goes. Microsoft now is 5 steps closer to owning ABK. I don't think they've officially acquired it, but there's really no one left to stop it. That was the biggest thing stopping them from acquiring ABK. And there's really nothing else left. Anything else, I'm pretty sure they feel they can negotiate under the table. The deal gives Sony players like Call of Duty for the next 10 years, which, I mean, like, that would have been cool. It would have been cool if they made the same commitment for like Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Starfield, anything else that's multi-platform. Keep everything multi-platform for the next 10 years. They're not going to do that. You know why they're not going to do that. But they had to say Call of Duty is going to be multi-platform for the next 10 years so that this deal could go through. And I do not believe they're doing it for their players. I'm really worried for Xbox fans. Like, you guys are eating today, you guys might be eating for a while, but I don't want it to be like you guys are just eating and secretly all the chefs are quitting behind the scenes. Like, all these studios are just getting shut down behind the scenes, or getting absorbed and just destroyed and corrupted behind the scenes. I'd rather all of these students just get a little bread up front, and you know, the money and whatever to make a good game for Xbox only, and then they make that game and you Xbox fans go out and buy that Xbox only game and that does so well it comes back with a sequel or something, I'd rather y'all get that than like 60% of games just not coming out anymore on Sony that used to be on Sony. I wouldn't want that for y'all. I don't want that for Sony fans. I don't think the deal's a big deal. I don't think the deal with that ABK and Microsoft, I don't think it's a big deal for Sony players because I think we'll still have amazing games to play, and I don't see Sony taking this line down. Like, I think they're just gonna make more games, and I feel confident. Like, I don't see a PlayStation drought coming anytime soon. If anything, I just see a shift in the game design philosophy, and that's really the only thing to worry about. Is everything going to be like microtransactions in the future? Is everything going to be like network based and streaming based in the future? Because I'm playing Diablo 4 right now, and I'm gonna tell you right now, my next review is going to be mean as fuck, because I do not like networking. I do not like the internet. I do not like online. I don't like other people in my video games. So we'll see how this landscape changes. I'm gonna continue to keep my eye on it. I know there's a lot of details I kind of glossed over. I'm really not a news reporter. I'm really into the philosophy of these things. I'm really into like how the culture is affected by these decisions that people are making. A lot of these people, I don't even know if they're really playing games for real. They make the games, or they own the people who make the games, but like, do they even sit down and say, damn, we made a good game, damn, we made a trash ass game? Like, I don't know. I'm here to tell them what they're making trash ass moves. And now I'm trying to help my players out here, you know. Play it, keep it play it. Like, let's keep it pushing, let's keep it I don't know, is that a bad reference? But we'll see how this plays out. We'll see if like it really goes anywhere, or if it's just nothing. I don't know if y'all remember Epic versus Apple. That was a big deal to me too. I felt like that was a cultural thing, but now it's been, you know, like a year or two removed, and people aren't really talking about it. But it also ended in a way that was very anticlimactic. And I might talk about that at some point, but like, I already missed the wait for that, so you know, maybe I'll just talk about it in connection to something else next time. For the most part, that one was pretty anticlimactic. It ended relatively similar to how it started. Everybody kind of just like whatever, but these corporations are making 4D chess moves right now. You gotta pay attention, because every dollar we spend on microtransactions is they like this to the developers. You know what I'm saying? Every dollar we spend on a game is they like this, so we're gonna keep doing this, you know. And even with GamePass, it's like you're paying Microsoft directly with that. You know, you're not even paying the developers for their game anymore, unless you buy microtransactions inside of the game. So, and same thing with like PlayStation Plus. But with PlayStation Plus, from my experience, it's been mostly like games that came out, you know, years ago that either I just wasn't interested in, or I wasn't able to play at the time. A lot of them kind of circle back on PlayStation Plus, and that's usually how I end up trying out games I never tried. So it's not really about the games that release. Like Elden Ring, I pre-ordered. Diablo, I pre-ordered. You know, most new games that I'm really hyped for, I pre-order. But for example, games like Spider-Man that I wasn't really too excited for, I wouldn't have ever been able to play it without the PlayStation Plus thing, because I never would have even considered just spending my money on it. But it was for free, and Miles Morales DLC was playable, so I played it and I loved it, and I went back and played the other game, which was also free. And I'm actually, once I finish the game, I'm going to be buying the DLC. So I see it as like a marketing tactic when you release games for free like that. And I don't know if the marketing tactic works as well when it's the same day launch release. So we'll see how this whole thing plays out, but I'm really looking at it more so for the long term, because the short term, I don't think nothing's going to change. I don't think we're going to lose no games. I don't think even if we did lose games, I don't think it would matter. I think there's still good games either in development or out now that's like, this decision today doesn't affect many people today, but it's a ripple that's going to turn into a wave, that's going to turn into a storm. So get ready for that. And my boy, I'll keep y'all informed as best as I can. Peace. Oh wait, no, hold up. Also like, comment, and subscribe. I don't like to ask for that, but I mean, I'm hoping y'all will, just because I like to engage with y'all. I actually want to talk to some of y'all in the comments. I love arguing with people, so if you think I'm stupid or wrong or whatever, go ahead and tell me. I would love to actually see other people's perspectives on this. I was not just arguing with my homie who's the biggest Xbox fan. I was really talking to people online, like really trying to get their perspective as an Xbox fan and all of this stuff. Most of it was not really all that good. Most of it was like, I would happily pay for Sony to be destroyed. I would happily pay to see Sony players suffer. Hey, we're winning and they're losing. Like, stuff like that wasn't really interesting, but there was people who's actually talking. And of course, my boy AG, every text he sent, he was pulling out facts, he was pulling out receipts, histories, showing me where Sony did some weird gambles, some weird moves, some power plays, and you know, when we agreed or disagreed, you know, I love having that dialogue with people. So go ahead and sound off in the comments. I really want to hear what y'all have to think about this whole FTC Microsoft thing, and also like help me with the terminology, okay? So I'll catch y'all later. Peace.